What's good, math family? In this video, we're going to do a review on graphing linear equations. We're going to touch on how to graph by intercepts, how to graph in slope intercept form, and how to use the rise over run to help us with graphing these type of equations. Sometimes when we graph linear equations, they give it to us in slope intercept form. Y is equal to mx plus b, and they may ask you to graph by intercepts. So we could do this by rearranging our equation or substituting. So if I rearrange the equation, I would add 4x on both sides to get 4x plus y is equal to 8. Then I would substitute. So I make my y variable 0 and solve for x. We're left with 4x is equal to 8. After we divide by 4, we know x is equal to 2. So we're talking about the ordered pair 2, 0. So we could plot this on our graph. And if we go back and do the same thing, but now we solve for y, we make x 0. And what we're left with is y is equal to 8. So we're talking about the ordered pair 0, 8. So if we were graphing by intercepts, we could use these 2 points and just draw a line through both of them. Now, if we focus on the table and we substitute, we could also graph using this method as well. So let's say we go in and we substitute for x. And in this video, or in this problem, I should say, they gave us the x's. So negative 4 times x, which is just positive 4, plus 8. So that's negative 16 plus 8. We know that's negative 8. We're talking about the ordered pair, 4 comma negative 8. So when we plot this on our graph, that's going to be right here. We already did when x is 2. That's how we got the x-intercept. But if we substitute, we're still going to get the correct answer. So negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus 8 gives us a 0. So our ordered pair 2, 0, which you already plotted. Then in the last problem, or x value, we have negative 4 times 1 plus 8. So negative 4 plus 8 gives us a positive 4. We know the last ordered pair is going to be 1 comma 4, which will be right here. So even if you graph by intercepts, you'll notice that you're still going to get the correct answer. So now we draw a line through all these points, and we know that we are correct because they all line up. So this is one thing that you need to know how to do, switching from slope intercept form to standard form and being able to graph by intercepts. In the next example, they give us an equation where we have a fraction. And we also notice that they don't provide the x values for us. So when we have a problem like this, we're going to pick x values that are divisible by the denominator, which is 2. So we're talking about x values such as negative 2, 0, and positive 4. If you remember the last video on this topic that's linked below this video, I talked about always finding the y-intercept because they will always ask you to identify it. This is why you always want to pick x is 0 and solve. So once we do that, let's say we start off with the y-intercept. So we substitute 0 in for x. 5 over 2 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 2 gives us negative 2. So we're plotting the ordered pair 0, negative 2, which is right here. Now, family, a real quick helpful tip. We don't have to go back and use the table and do the calculations for the other 2 x's. What we can do is use the rise over run, our slope, which is 5 over 2. So I could go up 5 over 2 to find other points. So once I go up 5 over 2, the next point on my graph would be 2 comma 3. If I continue this process again, the next point on my graph is going to be 4 comma 8. And just to be safe, let's do one more, go on the opposite side of the y-intercept. So if you look now, I have 4 points for my graph. And what we're going to do now is just determine if these points are accurate. So let's say that we use the table. So now we come in and we go to when x is -2. So we have 5/2 times -2 minus 2. So at this step, because we are multiplying with a fraction, we could cross cancel. So this 2 turns into a -1. 5 times -1 is -5. When we subtract 2 from it, we're going to get -7 for the y value. So we have the ordered pair -2, comma -7, which is going to be this point right here. Now when we go over to when x is 4, we have 5/2 times 4 minus 2. So when we come through now, we cross cancel, we divide by 2, that 2 turns into 1. This 4 turns into a 2, so this is 10 minus 2, which is going to give us an 8. So my last ordered pair would be 4, comma 8, which would be this top point right here. So 2 helpful tips from this problem that you have to remember. Number 1, if you have a fraction, pick x values that are divisible by the denominator. And number 2, you could always use your rise over run, your slope, to find other points on the graph. And when we connect these, draw a line through these points and connect them, we notice that all of these points line up and we didn't have to do as much calculations and using the table. Last problem of this video, family, and if this information has been helpful, we're going to ask that you smash the like button. They give us the equation in standard form, and anytime it's in the equations in standard form, graphing by intercepts is the fastest way to solve the problem. So we're going to make our variable 0 and solve for the other. So when y is 0, we have -2x is equal to 8. Divide by -2. We have x is equal to -4. So we're talking about the ordered pair -4, comma 0. So that's right here. Now if we go back and repeat this process, but make x 0, we're going to get y is equal to 8. So our ordered pair is 0, comma 8, which would be up at the top. So right here, we could be done with this problem. And we could draw a line through both of these points. But let's say we didn't choose this option. Let's say we came in here and we decided we're going to switch it over to slope intercept form and then substitute and solve like that. So let's erase. So we're going to add 2x on both sides. So we could put in slope intercept form. Y is equal to positive 2x plus 8. And we're going to pick the x values, -4, -2, and 0. You could pick any x value that you want to, but we're just going to pick ones that are small numbers and easy for us to work with. And because of that +8, we don't want to use positive numbers because then we're going to have to make our graph larger, include more numbers on the x and y axis. So we substitute now. And when we substitute, remember that we're plugging into this equation right here. So we have y is equal to 2 times x, which is -4, plus 8. 2 times -4 is -8. -8 plus 8 is 0. So this is how we get the point -4, 0, which is right here. So we know that is 1 point that falls on the line. When we go back and repeat this when x is -2, we're going to get 2 times -2, which is -4. -4 plus 8 is going to give us a positive 4. So we're talking about the ordered pair -2, comma 4, which would be right here. And you see that the line crosses through this point. So we're good there. And then in the last one, right? The y-intercept, we have -2 times 0 plus 8. So 0 plus 8 gives us an 8. We're talking about the ordered pair 0, comma 8, which we have up here. So these are some helpful tips when we're talking about how to graph linear equations, whether we're using a table, X and Y intercept, or we're graphing in slope intercept form. Really hope that this video was helpful for you, math family. If it was, smash the like button for us, subscribe to the channel, and leave comments down below if you had questions on this video or if there's topics you'd like to see on our channel in the future. Thank you guys so much for continuing to watch and support Algebra 1 with Mr. Peters.